But thank you so much for coming. As you know, this session is about the priorities. And it isn't just a session where you're going to sort of read lots of stats and reports. We will share back. I'm excited to have Minna El-Turki here, who represents the Think team, who has sort of really been the custodian of a lot of the priority. But actually, more importantly, it's a chance for us to look at ourselves and what priorities we bring. So that's really what we're going to focus on. But before we dive into that, Minna, I'd love for you to have a chance to share a bit more about the FII Institute, the Think Pillar, how the priority report fits with that. And before you do that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am very loud, actually. Hello? Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Daria, for introducing me and inviting me. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Minna El-Turki. I am the manager of partnerships under the Think department at FII Institute. And FII Institute clearly hosts the FII 7, which is held the flagship event every year here. And then within the Think department, we work on a variety of areas, including the Priority Compass, as well as publications and some also grassroots initiatives, which you can all go see in the Priority Gallery. I joined FII about 10 months ago, and I moved here from the States. I'm originally Egyptian, but I grew up on the East Coast. Prior to coming here, I was working in public health policy globally. So that really influences how I look at priorities from your personal life and your professional life. I believe there is a presentation.
Who's had a chance to read the priority report? There's no right or wrong. You haven't yet. So they're on your seats here, and I encourage you to go out also to look in the interactive data. But we really wanted to bring some of it to life for you now.
Thank you. No worries. Thank you so much. Yeah, I placed some of the priority reports on all of your seats, and I'll definitely guide you through some of it so you can help get an idea of what is there. So priority, let me see. There we go. So the FII priority is a program, and there's several things that fall under the program. So one of the main things is the priority summits under our exchange pillar. Our exchange pillar is what you're experiencing right now. It's an exchange, it's a discussion, it's a time to meet and talk about humanity's most pressing concerns. The priority compass falls under my department, Think. And this is to uncover the most pressing priorities of humanity. So it entails doing a survey, which I'll talk about in a second. Here we go, yeah. A survey which we did this year in 23 different countries with 50,000 respondents, which represented about 60% of the population. The goal of this, like I said, is really to find out humanity's priorities. And before I dive into the results, I want you to start thinking about how you relate to these priorities. So when I introduced myself a few minutes ago, it can give some insight about how I relate to the priorities. I am born to Egyptian parents in the US, so my priorities might be a little bit different than someone in Egypt's priorities, but they might not be exactly the same as an American's priorities. It might fall somewhere in between. My profession was 10 years in public health, so I'm always thinking about, what are the main causes of death, about heart disease, the things that we don't see every day. So that will influence how I would respond to the survey. So you'll see a lot of the differences between the different demographics, but then I think what's more important is to look at what we're all concerned about and what kind of brings us together, and then how we can make a call to action in those areas, and then how we can make a shift to find the inequalities and address them at all levels. So I'll dive in. Okay, so actually, if you have the priority report in front of you, I encourage you to turn to page 12. Where you'll get a good overview of what we looked at. So we looked at 6 areas, and I'm going to make a quick plug. Outside in the priority gallery, we do have the survey itself, which we want all of our delegates to take. So afterwards, I really encourage you to go there and take that. But you can have a look at the 6 priorities we looked at. So we looked at cost of living, social inclusion, which looks at loneliness, social justice, identity and values. We looked at climate change, which is a very hot topic. Governance, looking at corruption, transparency, economic policies. We also looked at healthcare and technology. And you can see the numbers that are standing out to you. Like the year before, this is our second year doing it, so like the year before, cost of living came as a top priority, and this is sometimes expected because it's something people experience every single day. You know, buying food, going to work, getting gas, things like that that are ever increasing over the past 3 years. One of the striking result was social inclusion, where loneliness was one of the main drivers of the result of being the second highest concern at 38% of people feeling alone. Climate is an issue we found that actually all generations care about. So it's not just one region, one age group. It's kind of affecting everyone, and everyone's kind of seeing it come up in their own countries and their own homes. We go to governance. One area that sticks out is corruption. It's a big concern for people around the world. And then fifth was healthcare. The biggest concern around healthcare was actually coming from Africa in terms of affordability of healthcare. And then last, but definitely not least, is technology. So technology is an interesting one because it is at 34%, but this is definitely one to keep an eye on, to kind of keep looking at in the future, especially with the emergence of AI and how that's really going to impact humanity, hopefully for the best, but we'll see.
Minna, can I ask you, is there anything that surprised you as you were going through this? Anything that sort of stood out or that you were expecting to see that wasn't there?
So I think the first time I heard about this, I thought climate change was actually going to be number one, and it came out as cost of living. And I think that has to do with what I was saying before, is I'm looking at this from a personal perspective. And thankfully, I'm grateful that I've had the privilege of not having to worry every day about my job or education or my cost of living, where I can kind of look at other things like climate change or public health. So I think that was one of the biggest shockers to me, and a grounding result for me as well.
And I know all of you are just seeing a lot of this for the first time, but is there anything that's sort of standing out to you or anything that you would have expected to see that's not there? And maybe if you want to, we'll just pass the mic or you can really project, but anything that's popping out to you off the page?
Thanks a lot. So my first question would be, these are organizational priorities or individual priorities? Personal, okay, thanks.
Yeah, can you tell us more about the sample? Yeah.
Can we grab the mic back this way? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite generic, right? So the way it's described.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was 23 countries and 50,000 people, but we did divide it up by age, gender, education, so looking at different education levels, looking at different income levels, just to make sure we had a sample size that was representative of the country. Yes.
I think you can get very different answers.
Yeah, absolutely.
My parents, mid-70s.
Yeah.
I will not tell you my age. I can't. My kids, for example. So what was the...
Yeah, absolutely. So of course we did income level education, so looking at who had a master's, who had just a bachelor's, who just had high school or didn't have high school, looking at the age differences, like 18 to 25, 25 to 35, so breaking it down. So there is actually a full report. This is just the executive summary. So there is a full report you can download online. I don't know if the QR code, I thought it was the right QR code, but I'll just check it now, because there's also a QR code to the navigator, which you can also check out outside, that goes through country by country. Yeah, thank you.
Any other kind of quick thoughts or observations, things that might be confusing?
Or any reactions?
And you know what I should have done is actually, could you say your name and where you're from?
Okay, so my name is Hanan, and I'm doing my master in computer science in KAUST. So I'm a bit surprised about technology being the least percentage, because as someone working in the AI industry and currently doing my thesis in this field, I think like technology actually affects most of the all of the other priorities. It affects the quality of life, the climate change, the healthcare, and the governance of and yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Did you want to add anything? No? Okay. Anybody else? Yes, please. Do you mind passing the mic down?
Good morning. My name is Taha. I'm the Senior Managing Director and Head of Abdul Latif Jameel in Saudi Arabia, Toyota and Lexus. There is two numbers here, which is actually it's a little bit. So I see the highest number is 93% of the total population is saying believe that immigration is affecting their country, which is reflected to number of opportunities, jobs, whatever. But is that from the negative side or from the positive side? Because if I look at two from negative side, it means I'm in this country, in Brazil or wherever, so people is, or in America, so people they came and take my chance of having a job, or they are contributing positively to their countries, because we see some very positive contribution in other countries, especially people who has immigrated from, wherever, Syria or whatever, Egypt. You as example, you have a very positive impact in the country once you relocate. So this is one. Second one, which is also connected to this. So people are saying 16% of people feel loved and supported. So is that one related to social family, whatever, So people, they feel, I don't know, can you connect, is this can be connected?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the first one you mentioned, I think it really depends on the country, and you can kind of dive in to the country level responses in terms of immigration. And of course, that's also a hot topic, right? And that's also reflective of cost of living, of job availability, things like that that are affecting different countries, and then the movement of people around the world. In terms of social inclusion, that was, I think, one of the areas. I'm going to just open it just to make sure I get it right. Yeah, emotional well-being in terms of feeling loved and feeling accepted in their social sense of belonging, which has decreased since the last survey, which can be accounted for a little bit around technology, like what you were saying, and feeling that disconnectedness. And so then how can we together figure out how to create inclusive environments digitally, but also physically, like human interaction. Yeah.
Because people, they start to feel lonely because of stuck in front of their mobiles, so they don't have their social life.
Absolutely, but even digitally, you can create an environment where people are included, and sometimes digitally, you have issues with bullying or exclusivity, things like that. So also creating the environments online and offline. But it's how we interpret the results and then how we take action, I think, which matters most.
And that's a big part of this, right? This is to inform not just kind of, who has been convened here today, but how do we ensure that given the agency, the resources that are kind of brought to bear by FII Institute, that these priorities and the people who aren't necessarily in the room, that their needs are being kind of driven, that they're driving the action. And do you have anything?
Yeah, the point is, so what's the next step usually you are doing in this? So you have the survey, you have the finding. So do you recommend solution to those, whatever? Because I believe, like us and our organizations, we do a kind of like engagement survey for the employees. So for the leaders and whatever, for operation, I used to tell them, this is your engagement percentage, example, 80% or whatever. Then you have to show me action plan.
Absolutely.
What you want to do to recover this 20% missed of disengaged or whatever employee.
Yeah.
So in your case, I don't know what kind of, feedback or action plan that it should happen, reference to this.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple levels and the things that the FI Institute is committed to now and what we plan to do in the future. So at the FI Institute, we have a couple pillars, one being education, sustainability, healthcare, and AI and technology. And you can see behind me are 3 main calls to action. And some of them are done internally, and then some will work with partners to see how we can move forward in those. So I can talk a bit about the first one, promoting quality education to increase employability, and as well as access to higher education. So if you go back to our priority gallery, my third plug of the priority gallery, you can check out our education initiatives where we're working with local level community-based organizations in Brazil and Kenya to increase digital literacy among youth in urban areas and rural areas. The other two are supporting transition to efficient and renewable energy, which is an ongoing conversation here, which you've heard yesterday during the Energy Summit. And then the last one is encouraging equitable and inclusive healthcare through innovation. We have our health pillar. We have yet to identify a partner for that road, but we'll be moving towards that soon. Yeah.
So I'd love to sort of have you put your reports aside for just a moment. I promise at the end we'll return to this in terms of what do we take away from here, not just as individuals, but in terms of FII Institute. And there's going to be a chance for you all to feed into what you'd like to see reflected in the actions taken. That's really what this is meant to be, as an exchange. But part of what we want to do in the lab is also activate all our ways of knowing. And that may not be a term that is sort of familiar to you, but all the ways that we can be moved by data intellectually, we can be moved by emotions, we can have that visceral feeling of moving. When we think about the level and scale of complexity that we're facing, we have to use all of that to face it. It's not just through our heads, it has to be in every aspect of ourselves. So that's really what we want to do here in the lab. We'd love for you to put those reports aside, kind of move yourself in your chair, and maybe shift even a little bit in terms of the identity you're bringing here. So we're all dressed in our business gear, so we're representing that mindset. But for a moment, let's remind ourselves who we care about most in the world. Think about a person you love. Really, bring them to mind. One person that you love, the first person who comes there. You can feel it differently. It kind of drops you out of your head and into your body. And we're deeply connected. So we're going to give you a chance now to think about that person and the people you care about and what keeps you up at night when you think about the world and those people. We're going to turn the lights down. We're going to bring up images, not just the data that represents those faces and voices that have been asked to contribute, but actually the faces from around the world, and remind ourselves of our interconnection. So you'll have a little bit of a gift of time and space now to do that. And you'll have a few moments on your own, and then we'll invite you to pair with a partner to share what's come up for you, and we'll come back as a full group. But this is a gift of time to drop out and to sort of really think about the people you love and the world you want to create for them. So we're going to dim the lights. Pardon? A long list, but it's the intuitive list. And we're going to put on some music. You can close your eyes. You have a card on your seat if the way in which you think is through your hands and writing, however you want. So I'd like to invite you now to just turn to the person next to you and share what came up. We're in even numbers. So you have 2 minutes each now to share what's come up as you think about this, and then we'll kind of close out as a full group. Okay, I'm going to pause your conversation and just invite any reflections back in terms of what's come to mind as you shifted maybe out of your headspace business suit approach to maybe kind of the other things that are important. So the question for anyone who wants to respond is kind of, go ahead. Let's make sure you get the microphone also. And will you just introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Nishad Azim. I live in Doha, and I have businesses in construction, manufacturing, healthcare. And I'm originally from India, but I've lived most of my life in Kuwait and Qatar. So thank you for this session, and I just would like to disagree a bit with what you said. When you said that, think about someone you love, and what you would like to see that as the future for them, right? But I think we sitting here are, truly blessed, and we form only a very, very small percentage of the global population. So what if I were to just look at what is important for my sons? I have 2 boys. I think that would be, something that is only very superficial. I think as humanity, we need to look at, people around you. So if you look at all the things that are happening in Palestine, in parts of Africa, India, you know that the issues that are happening. And some of it is because of certain regimes or certain people, which is something that is created by us humans. Others are maybe due to poverty or natural calamities and things like that. So as humans, I believe that we need to look at it as a global village. What are we doing? What is the part that we are paying or what we're playing to make the life better for everybody else that you can influence? It could be something very insignificant, but if each of us does something, as we say, either, admire people who actually go there, the Doctors Sans Frontiers and all those people, plus, or someone who does, charity or contribution towards this thing, or as a minimum have that thought in your mind, I feel for these people. So I think that is what we should be doing, and that's what all of us should be looking at. As they say, did you allow someone else to take a shot, right? You are already made it. What have you done? The people who are next to you, around you, who are less privileged, and then they may not be around you, they may be far away and you don't know them, but you know that there is suffering. What have you done towards those? So that's the thing I feel.
Yeah, that's great. I welcome the disagreement. I think there's that wonderful, is it Mother Teresa who says that we need to draw our family circles wider so that we're looking after more people. We have time for 1 or 2 other reflections, and I'd love it, kind of not only what came up, but what's your intention as you go back out into these sessions, having spent time here, and anything you'd like also to be reflected in the way these priorities are actioned. Anybody who hasn't spoken yet? Anyone over here?
There was a good discussion with Sabrine. I like her priority. But I'll talk about my priority because one day we wake up around 2 o'clock in the morning where my father is collapsing when it came to health, almost heart attack. He can't call anyone. He's living in his own private room. And he's trying to reach anyone to help. However, we are living in the same house. So alhamdulillah, successfully, he reached one of us and we take him all the way to the hospital. Big emergency situation, open heart surgery, and he's okay. And when I look to my priority in my life is my father and my mother. And the concern is the health concern. And let me tell you one thing which is very critical. We live in Saudi Arabia. Alhamdulillah, my father is a big businessman. The quality of the health sectors that we have it in Saudi Arabia. This is not my discussion, but my discussion, there is some certain product about health. You have the money, you have everything, but that service is not available around you, and you have a critical time. So what to do? So accessibility to some of health things, this is a big issue. Second is the subject itself, which is I'm talking about my personal priority. So that father, where I'm sure his father is still alive, or mother, would love to keep them in a good health situation, whatever. And at least when they look for help, I'm there to help. I'm telling Sabrina that I heard about this Apple Watch, then I put it in his hand. So I can access from my mobile if there is something, I got alarm. Because even though he is not, accessible to his mobile, but we request him to keep this in your hand all the time. So I think there is thousands of things that the world can invest in it when it came to the health sector. The product itself, the accessibility itself, reach itself, and this is keep me busy. I'm already, by the way, a grandfather. We are a big family living together, but the first subject that we have it every day is about health, because of this kind of situations. So one of our investment in Abdul Latif Jameel is the health sector. Just recently, we did a very big global health sector, and we have accessibility to MIT, whatever, and we are asking people, what we can, because this is one of the things that we need to solve it internationally. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
useless contribution.
Yes.
My useless contribution.
Not useless at all. It's in the eye of the user, I think. Anybody else? Just a final reflection, even if it's just one word. I'm going to go here and then there.
Okay, so the first people I thought of was my family, especially my younger sister, my younger brothers, because as someone older, I am currently, or my generation, are the leaders of their future generation. To me, my priority is research and science, because that is what developed our current world. And to me, science and learning is investing in oneself, and investing in oneself is an investment to humanity, because whatever you learn, whatever you invest in yourself is, you're gonna somehow give it away to the people around you, to your society, to your country, to your world. So that's it.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? We got our final short word.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the exercise. I follow the instruction, and I thought of a loved one to concentrate on this. So I thought of my son. My eldest son is going to college very soon, and it's quite amazing, to think of the future for this generation, right? And my role to support him in the next journey. And connected to what you were showing before, I thought, okay, so what is my role? As a father, I have a big role to provide, okay, a future for him. But I've always been thinking, okay, I was blessed to be given a lot of opportunities in my country when I grew up, and then traveling the world, and my role now here in Saudi Arabia, etc. I always want to provide at least the same opportunities for my family. It's a basic approach. But then I really like the global village that you guys mentioned. I thought, okay, but that's not my purpose only. I have a group of people around me, and I belong to a global community, not only my firm, but also the people that we impact through our work, right? And I wrote down, maybe I was wearing the suit still, I wrote down a few things, something alongside safety and peace. And they're basic things that we should provide not only for our families, but for our ecosystem. Opportunities / education. I think education is a massive issue in the world, maybe the root cause of poverty and some of the aspects that you mentioned before. People uneducated, they make their own choices, and then they find themselves in the wrong place. well-being. I think you talk about healthcare. I think there's a lot of prevention that we can do, the way we manage our life, and maybe something that I'm missing in the report. So it's very much after the fact, but what about how we do running our life? Are we doing enough physical exercise? Are we eating the right things, right? And this is something that I'm trying to do with my kids, so I wrote that down. But I think it's our job. Clean air, clean water, food security, these are things that are in my hands, but something that we can impact as well. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. The encouragement, you have these cards in your hands, there's a box outside, and anything that you want to leave, both in terms of a reflection of your priority, is you can put out there, but also anything you'd like to see reflected in the priority report and the way in which the Institute also takes action around this would be really, really welcome. So, shukran. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Any final word from you?